changed. At least my life has changed.
Your life wasn't that great to begin with, so it doesn't take
You
much.
don't know what was in my life. Uh, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is here, the second of a planned trilogy of movies.
Why are
And
you so bright?
because I have lights on.
Oh, so you don't ever have them on. That's why. Okay, I
No,
got it.
these are the same lights that I always have on.
Nah, man, you just look. Your face looks brighter. Like that's like.
Because God came down and bestowed upon me this halo called Across the Spider-Verse.
That's what it is.
Yeah, it changed my life.
Uh,
I mean, nah, I'm just messing. Yeah, we saw Across the Spider-Verse, man. We're going to review it, give you the non-spoilers, the spoilers, and stuff we liked. This is the We Trying channel, Nerdy by Nature production. Um,
A Nerdy by Nature Productions.
that's what I just said.
You said
you
Nerdy
here?
by You
I
said Nerdy
didn't.
by Nature Productions. I was like,
Nope.
A Nerdy by Nature
I
Productions.
said, nope, didn't say that.
You missed the A part.
Okay, sure.
Folks, when you watch this, run this back, let me know that Michael said A Nerdy by Nature Production.
Yeah, let us know in the comments below.
Yeah. That you'll never read.
Well, you'll read them for me. You
Yeah.
know I can't read.
So you know I'm going to say that you didn't say it.
I mean, that's fine. That's cool. I mean, where are we at, man? What are we thinking?
I don't know. You give us your thoughts.
I just talked for a minute 30. You talk. You say something.
But that's what we're doing. You talk, I talk.
Yeah, that's how conversations go.
Speaking of how conversations go, Poe Dameron, shout out to
You get his name. Come on.
I'm just thinking like that man is in everything.
He is in a lot of stuff.
I mean,
there was some internet thing that showed like he's now been in like 3 different Marvel properties.
Yeah, I mean Oscar
Isaacs, which is cool.
I don't want to say Marvel projects, but when I think Oscar Isaacs, I think Pedro Pascal, like somebody who's done a lot of genre work, like in very prominent roles. You know, somebody who was, if I don't know if you guys remember, he was in A Most Violent Year. Great underrated film, A24 film, by the way. So we got Star Wars, we got Moon Knight. He's now Miguel O'Hara in this. Poe Dameron, that's again the line.
Sucker Punch.
I do not remember Sucker Punch.
I mean, it's fine.
I've seen it.
Yeah,
I don't remember it.
He was a bad guy, so
it's one of those movies where I'm just like, I need to go back and watch it because I remember nothing about it. I honestly remember the trailer more than the movie.
He was an Ex Machina, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
He was also in Triple Frontier.
Yeah,
that was a good movie. Netflix movie, by the way. Anyway, I liked it. I don't want to be too much of a prisoner of the moment, but I've always said Into the Spider-Verse is the best Spider-Man film. I've said that Into the Spider-Verse is also, when that movie came out, I felt that was the best Spider-Man film. I think it is one of arguably the best comic book film.
That is a great argument.
And I've also said that it was.
Is it your favorite comic book movie film?
We'll get to that in a second, but
Okay.
I will say Into the Spider-Verse. Into the Spider-Verse was so good that if you didn't give me a live-action Miles Morales, I'm not saying I don't want it. I'm saying I could be okay with it because I had this movie. When Into the Spider-Verse first was announced and it first came out, I was like, I had one of those sighs.
Everybody was like that.
Sony had.
Because at that point, Amazing Spider-Man 2 had come out, right?
Mm-hmm.
We had Spider-Man 3. Some people were like, Sony doesn't know what they're doing.
No, we had Spider-Man. We had Amazing Spider-Man.
And Spider-Man 3, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
Oh, hold on. So we'd had those. Sony had the Spider-Man property through the deal that they had with Marvel. So they had been in charge of all the characters, and everybody was kind of like, because they looked at animation as a step down. Why can't we have a live action Miles Morales movie? So no one really, until the trailer came out, no one was really prepared for what Into the Spider-Verse was. Then the trailer came out and everybody's like, okay. And then we all saw the movie and we were like, what just happened? And then they were like, oh, there's 3 of them. And we were like, wait, what? And they were like, yeah, we're going to make a few more. And we were all kind of like, go on. And the trailer for this one, Across the Spider-Verse, came out and everybody was kind of like, okay, I'm digging it. I'm really digging it. And then we just talked about IGN and the fact of sometimes when people review stuff and they watch stuff, they can be so much, either they're fans or they lose their objectivity. I don't know where this rests for me, but this is in the pantheon of one of the greatest comic book movies ever. And I don't say that lightly. It's definitely top 10. Is it top 5? I don't know. I need to sit back, think about it.
I mean, you saw it today, right?
I saw it today.
Okay.
I'm gonna go back and rewatch Into the Spider-Verse again. Watched it with the kids over the past weekend. This movie was amazing, and I don't say that lightly. You know, we go in here, we joke a lot of times about stuff, but I'm in awe of what they accomplished in this movie, and it's very rare that I'm in awe of a movie where you're like, oh, I don't know if you can top this in live action. Like that.
Well, I mean, one of the beauties of having cartoon is you can be so much more exaggerated than you can in live action.
I mean,
There's a lot of stuff you can pull off.
I'm just not the stuff that you can pull off, like the storytelling alone and the way they were able to hit each character and make them unique and individual, even with the little bit of screen time that they had. Mm-hmm. Each character stood out because of the animation style, because of the way it was written, because of the way it was presented. I'm in awe of this movie. And
every frame looks like it could be a cell, you know, like you would like, oh, let me get that framed or something. That looks awesome.
So do you know how many animation styles are in this movie?
Nope.
6.
That's it?
According to
in my mind, it seemed like there's more, but okay.
But there's there is more, but there will be 6 dominant art styles.
Okay.
So in other words, like there's each, because think about it like this, each spider person is animated differently. Mm-hmm. If you look at the way Miles is animated versus the way Gwen is animated versus the way Hobby is animated versus Spider-Man 2099. We started this thing talking about I just had his name and I just forgot it that quickly because all I can see is Miguel O'Hara. Like it's these people have become the characters so much that you lose who they really are. And that's a testament up to the animation, the production behind this, the people who wrote these. And I think this is one of the biggest love letters to comics ever. And I don't say, like, I'm trying not to gush too much over it, but I'm trying to not be present of the moment. Like, so perfect example. I don't know if you guys can see this. That's Spider-Gwen #1, Jason Latour and Robbie Rodriguez. So when the movie started with that animation style, and
so are we getting into spoilers?
Well, I'm not doing spoilers. I'm just talking about like when you see each individual person on screen, the way it's animated, it literally is a love letter. Like it literally looks like this. When I wish I had 2099 stuff. When Miguel shows up, the music is different. The way he walks and the way he talks is it's such a drastic change. Like Into the Spider-Verse was game changing. This is on another level, in my opinion. I'm hesitant to say this, but this might be a 5 out of 5 for me. Like, right, like
Why are you hesitant to say that?
because I'm trying not to be caught up in the moment. You know, like you watch something and you're just like so overwhelmed, sensory overload. And I'm
Sure.
just thinking, I'm going back to like all the stuff that I know about Spider-Man, all the stuff I love about Spider-Man. This movie made me love Spider-Man more than I ever loved Spider-Man. And that's saying a lot because I thought Enter the Spider-Verse was the best Spider. You see what I'm saying? Like
Hmm.
it's hard to top when you were like, Enter the Spider-Verse was 5 out of 5. Well, shit, is this 6 out of 5?
Hmm. I mean,
So
you can have two 5 out of 5 Spider-Man movies. It's okay.
I it's looking that way. It
Yeah.
is really looking that way. So yeah, I would recommend people going to go see this. I would recommend people taking their family, kids, whoever. When you saw, what was your theater like?
Maybe 6 or 7 people.
Really?
I saw like an early morning showing because I had to go see it close to Charlotte just so I could drive from there to be Charlotte and not miss work. So
Hmm.
I saw it relatively early. It wasn't a packed theater, but the people that were there, they were definitely comic book fans. They loved it. They enjoyed it. Um, People laughed when stuff was funny. People kind of gasped at a few times. I told you in my tweet or whatever, there are a few times where I teared up. I was like, "Oh, this is great. This is really powerful. This is really getting me." I don't know if anybody else did in the theater, but there were definitely moments I'm like, "Oh, this is really good stuff." And what I'm trying to figure out is, I don't know if I like this more than the first one or not, but I think I'm beyond that. I'm like, this was just a really good movie, and you can never recapture the magic of that first time like you got with Into the Spider Verse of just what it did. And I think it just expounds upon that and gives you more stuff. It was so great to see all the spider people that we got in the first one, and now you're getting even more type of characters. All the different art styles. Everything looks incredible. Um, there is that articles going around talking about Haley Steinfeld, saying she really enjoyed this one because she got more to do, and it's evident in the movie. She really carried a lot of good parts of the movie, but so did everybody else. Shanique Moore was great. Oscar Isaac was great. And I can't think of the actress who plays the mother, but Rio Morales, she was awesome.
That is,
Luna something,
hold on, I got it right here.
or
Uh,
Lauren something maybe, because I was just seeing an
Luna
interview with
Lauren
her.
Velez.
There we go. You
You
got two of the
remember her
names right.
from,
New York Undercover.
yep. And
Yeah,
was she in, I want to say Orange is the New Black, but no,
different
was
lady.
she? No, I'm sorry, not Orange is the New Black. Oz. Sorry.
Okay, there we go.
It's just like I'm trying to. I knew it was a prestige show, but I couldn't remember which one it was.
Yeah,
Um,
but I mean, great. Brian Tyree Henry, he was great in this. I mean, everybody's just bringing their A game. Everybody is. I'm loving everybody.
I this movie did not seem. We talk about this a lot. This movie is. Um, it is. Hold on, I'm pulling up right now. The time. Where's the time?
Like 2 hours and 20 minutes or something, I think.
You might be right. I'm looking for it. Looking for it. I'd like to also point out that I hate 2 hour and 20 minutes. You're correct. I also like to point out I still hate the new IMDb, or however the redesign or whatever. I still hate it to this day. Still hate
Hmm.
it. Still hate it. Still hate it. Um, it never felt like it. I wondered how they were going to pull off Jason Schwartzman as being Spot, as being the
Hmm.
big bad in this,
Yeah,
and
I think they did it.
man, did they do it! Like
Yeah.
and you talked about all the actors and the actresses in the film. Again, I stopped seeing them. Like you can watch a movie, you're like, that's Tom Cruise.
Hmm.
But you can take yourself out of the movie, out of the immersive experience, and say, oh, that's Willem Dafoe. Oh, that's Denzel. I very rarely did I take myself out and be like, that's Issa Rae. Like in the beginning when Issa Rae talked, I was like, oh yeah, that's Issa Rae. But after a while, I was like, that's no longer Issa Rae. That's Spider Woman. It was one of those things where I knew who that person was behind the voice, but I stopped saying in your head, oh, that's so and so. Like Paviter
I don't know how
Prad
to pronounce his last name.
the Indian spider person, Karan Soni, who's Dopinder from Deadpool 3.
Mhm.
Like, he was electric on screen. Not just not just the way he animated, but just the comedic timing of just his movements and how he carried himself. That it really was breathtaking to watch this film.
Yeah.
And the reason why I asked who was all in your movie theater is because when I saw it as a matinee as well, school is out, so there were a lot of kids. Um,
Wait,
I
what time did
wish
you see it?
I
Oh, but you mean school out for the summer? Okay, got
yeah.
it. All right.
So it was like there were older people in my theater, but there was a lot of younger people in my theater as well, and it was a really big balance, um, a really nice balance. This movie, I want to say, before we get into spoilers, so this movie, according to Polygon, and I've seen this reported beforehand, it took in 120 million in its open weekend domestically, and 208 million around the world,
Mhm.
which exceeds what Into the Spider Verse did. Um, Spider Verse made 384 million worldwide.
Total.
Yes.
Right.
So, I mean, if you're already at 208, you're having good word of mouth. Your rating on Metacritic, Rotten Tomatoes is in the 90s. You seem to be getting, and this movie has exceeded projections in the sense of they thought, okay, opening weekend, 30, 40 million. You know, like there was articles, I want to say it was Variety, who was like, this movie may not make as much opening weekend. You know, it may need a longer cycle in the theater. I mean, 120 million puts it as the largest domestic gross for a Marvel movie this year. Not Ant-Man, not Guardians of the Galaxy, Across the Spider-Verse. And that's a
It's the number
test.
2 movie of the year so far, right?
Mhm.
Our number 2 opening behind Mario. Yeah.
Yep. I was just about to say that the two biggest openings of this year, as we stand in June, are two animated films.
Mhm.
That's a testament to the work that these people created and the love of this character. Um, I again, I wondered it was I being like, this is one version of Miles I have. I have two of these. I got one to open and another one to hang that I will never open. That I just was like, good Lord. I don't know if you guys can see it. That's Miles Morales, Spider-Man. That's the hip hop cover from Nas's the Nas cover.
You got to put your
Miles.
hand down.
Uh,
There you go.
there you go.
Yeah.
Hold on. Some of the ones I got graded. Getting that glare. I gotta worry about that. But yeah, the character of Miles I love. I don't
Mhm.
have the first appearance yet. I just haven't found one that I like. But yeah, that's where I stand. I'm gonna give this right now. I'm sitting at a 5 out of 5.
Yeah.
By the end of this, I could give this a 6 out of 5.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
There we go.
I could.
Breaking the scale.
I honestly, this movie
First
just.
time ever we've had somebody break the scale.
I'm honestly in awe of this film, and I don't. I let's get the spoilers.
Okay. Yeah, 5 out of 5.
5 out of 5 for you as well.
Yeah, 5 out of 5. Yeah, it was enjoyable. And I don't know. Again, I don't need it. I think a lot of people were trying to be like, is it better than the first one or not? That doesn't really matter to me. I'm just happy that we got two. We can have two 5 out of 5 movies. That's fine. In my opinion, I think that's cool.
I liken this film to a Star Wars Empire Strikes Back situation.
Sure.
You cannot. It's very hard to recapture. Um, so if you're new to the channel, the Orange Beans, we're getting the spoiler territory. Territory. Like, comment, and subscribe. If you haven't seen the film, this is your opportunity right now. Stop, pause, bookmark, go watch the film, come back, hit us up right here. Um, yeah.
So where you want to
What
start, man? I don't.
what the fuck, man? I'm
When I lost it, I mean, I lost it several times in the movie, but when Donald Glover was in the movie as the Prowler, I was like, man, they are doing so many levels of commentary. I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
this movie gets it, and I love it.
Like so before we even get there, let's start at the beginning. The
Sure.
movie opens up. It's called Across the Spider-Verse. The first one was Into the Spider-Verse. It starts with, and again, the reason why I brought this up is this is the way the movie looked. This is the first issue of Radioactive Spider, Spider-Gwen. Um, again, Jason Latour, Robbie Rodriguez. Who was the inker? Hold on, I want to make sure. Renzi. Oh man, I hate when they don't put the anchor up here. But so that look from Robbie Rodriguez colored the entire opening of the film. You talked about Haley Steinfeld being a standout, getting to do more. Her story was very prominent, and I thought it was a nice nod to her. I
Mhm.
didn't realize how big of a story her character was going to be going forward in this, in the sense of the captains.
Mhm.
I thought that was a very interesting. I thought it was a bold take in the beginning. To all your trailers are like centered around that it's about Miles, but it's about the entire Spider Verse. And you start with Gwen Stacy, and then you realize, oh, that's the reason why you started with Gwen Stacy, because you needed that hurt to matter
Mhm.
when this comes up later. And I thought that was brilliant storytelling. I was in awe of, like, one of those things where, like, we've talked about this before. Like, we, a lot of people, when you watch a movie, do you see the twist coming? Do you see the hit coming? And I think some filmmakers are very good at disguising it. Some of them, they have certain things, certain tells where you can see it coming. This one, if you thought about it, you probably could have figured it out. But I was so engrossed in the movie, I did not see it coming. I didn't
Wait,
realize
which
what.
part? Which part did you see coming? Where he was in a different universe?
No, the Stacys.
Oh,
In
okay.
other words, the captains. Like, in other words, it was Captain Stacy from a lot of them.
Mhm.
For all of them, it was this captain. It was like, it was the canon event. And I was like, are you really doing this? This was so meta. I was Rick and Morty has an episode. I don't know how far behind you are. It's
Way
the
behind.
story, it's the storytelling, it's the story engine episode that Rick and Morty did, that I was like, okay, Rick and Morty might be one of the greatest cartoons ever, just for the way that they have some of the subject matter that they've touched on, the fact of the fight between having an episodic show versus a continuous storyline throughout the entire series. They're not the first group to do it, but when they introduced that canon part, I was blown away that they were
Mhm.
really leaning into the Spider Verse in a way the MCU I don't think can ever do. And the fact that Sony owns the rights to all the Spider-Man properties, so that they're able to use all of the footage from every Spider-Man, I was just in awe.
Mhm.
They had the Gamerverse Spider-Man in there. They had the Insomniac Spider. They had Tobey Maguire in there. You saw Andrew Garfield from the Scarlet Spider with Ben Riley. It was amazing.
Did they ever have MCU Spider-Man? I can't remember.
No,
I know
but they
they
had
referenced
they
him.
referenced it.
Okay, yeah.
And shout out to whoever edited the trailer, because remember when he says his line, when he's like Doctor Strange, and you thought that he was saying that as that moment when he meets Miles Morales, but he said that in the beginning when he met Gwen. And I was like, oh, bravo. Because we always talk about trailers that give too much away.
Mhm.
If you've seen that trailer, and I wish we'd have said this before spoilers, you have seen nothing. Like, I think that was a very well done trailer. Now watching the movie, I'm impressed.
Yeah, I am happy, and I had to go back and watch the trailer. But a lot of trailers, they will show you like the last clip of the movie. A lot of
Mhm.
times now, or like the last 10 minutes, some part of
Oh,
it.
they should
And I
definitely
don't
show
I
the
don't
third act.
think and I don't think this movie did that.
They
Um,
definitely they definitely
they
showed the
showed
third
it,
act.
or the trailer showed up into the point where he gets away from all the spider people, but like they didn't show the part where he's in a different universe, which was cool.
Not even
Well,
that.
maybe I don't know,
Not
but
not even that. I love the fact that you didn't even like the spider fight was so much bigger than what we thought it was. Like I think that was one of the things that I thought was so amazing is the kinetic energy of the characters. So we start at the beginning, we meet Gwen, we see her story, and then Miguel shows up. And Miguel's entrance on screen, I like Spider-Man 2099.
mhm.
Like I like him. I have his first issue somewhere in the house. It's probably in storage someplace. What they did with that character, what Oscar Isaac brought to that character, and the way they animated it, I get why people love that character. I never really got it in the beginning. I get it now. Like
Mhm.
if that's what if you think about Spider-Man 2099, Miguel O'Hara, and you're like, oh, I'm a believer now. Like that, like his just the way he was animated, the way he came on screen, the music changed. Like that music, it stood out. And you were just like, you got bad guy music.
Mhm.
This is like it was just amazing. Then Issa Rae, they're fighting the vulture who was animated differently. And just that vulture was amazing.
Yeah, that whole that paper crab looking vulture was awesome. Yeah.
That the movement, the fight. Did you think they were gonna kill her dad in that first part of the movie?
No, I thought maybe it could come later. I thought maybe he could go. I thought Miles's dad could have gone possibly. And I feel like they were playing with those expectations of like, yeah, we're playing with you. They could go, but no, they're not. I don't. I think the movie did a good job of balancing that.
No, I'm saying like when you saw it at the beginning, not as you saw it, like at that moment when they started the movie. Did you think they were gonna kill her dad
Oh
right
no,
there? Okay,
no.
like I was when I saw the figure behind, I knew they weren't gonna kill him. But when I saw that thing coming down,
Hmm.
I did think when that helicopter came down, I thought, oh, they're gonna kill him, and then this is how she leaves her universe. I did think that. That's what I was like. Are
I might
you?
have thought he was in peril, so maybe I did. I don't know.
I wasn't sure if they were like I wasn't sure where they were going.
Hmm.
She leaves, and then we get that whole sequence, and then we get to Miles, and I love
Miles is
the
older and grown up.
I really love the way they brought Miles in, and it really hit back home why I fell in love with Shamik Moore as Miles Morales. And I know that they're going to cast another Miles Morales in a live action. I know we're getting there one day. Whoever is cast, man, that's some big shoes to fill.
Sure.
Because Shamik Moore is Miles Morales to me.
Yeah, I think he did a great job in differing his performance from the first movie. Like this Miles has been doing the job for a little bit. I don't
Hmm.
know how many years have passed, but he's a little more confident in himself,
Long
a little
enough
more
that
sure.
we got Mayday Parker.
Yeah, sure, sure. But I mean, just the character he does a good job of just being different and being more confident in himself, more self assured, just being able to take on bad guys differently now than he was before.
Yeah. Um, he looked different. He was animated different. Like I went back and again watched Spider Verse and then watched this. The way they animated him, there's a difference to it, and I wish we. I
We wish we were smarter so we can know what it's called.
no. I wish we had an artist on here who could talk about like the subtle differences between watching the first one and knowing the art styles between the first one and this one and how they animated Miles because we know in the first movie he was animated at a different frame rate when he was Miles versus when he was Spider-Man. So I would like to know what the frame rate and what the animation and what animation styles and techniques they use in this one. Did they keep that same frame rate on this one that they did in the first one? Did they like because we can definitely tell that there's a different style. There's a little bit more
Mhm.
in this version than the last one. So I definitely would like to know. Um, what did you think about the introduction of Spot?
is the fact that he was so unassuming, and this guy's like, oh, I'm just trying to steal some money or whatever. He was such a
No, when he said, "I'm trying to rob you. Don't make this a bad experience for me. This is my first robbery." I fell out.
yeah. I mean, Jason Schwartzman really killed the role in terms of they kept talking about villain of the week. He's just a
Mhm.
villain of the week or whatever.
Yep.
And I mean, that's such a meta thing to say, knowing that it's comic book lore and all that kind of stuff. And they've really amplified him and be like, nah, this is your nemesis, Miles Morales. And they did a good job of escalation of making him a
Mhm.
bad guy that mattered.
Man, like that whole bodega fight was so like you knew it was coming in the trailer, but it was so much better. It was
Mhm.
hilarious. Like when he's I the whole theater, my theater cracked up when he said, "This is my first robbery. You're making this a bad experience for me." Don't I lost it. When he stood up and he's like, "I am the spot." And the bread came
The
out
braid came out, yeah.
and you seen that in the trailer, but you still laughed. The whole the fighting back and forth when like you saw in the background, how they're going through the different holes.
Hmm.
I I don't like to knock any other movie or rag any other movie. But remember how we talked about the difference between Doctor Strange and everything, everything, everywhere, all at once.
Hmm.
This was more everything, everywhere, all at once, with the different universes and the
Yeah.
different dimensions than this was Doctor Strange. Like Doctor Strange was fine. It was okay. It made a lot of money, but it didn't. I thought it
I
was.
don't know. I don't know that it did make a lot of money
Oh, it did. It made and it was one of the best movies of that year.
last
It
year.
Yep,
But what is a
money
lot of
wise.
money? Like what, six
It
hundred
was
thousand dollars?
it was the I can look at it right here. It was the best opening for Marvel last year.
Yeah,
And
like
if
what's the
I'm
total is what I'm trying to figure out. I
uh
don't I don't know that it did what Marvel wanted.
no, I think it did. I want to say it did well. Almost a billion, $955 million.
Okay.
That's why I said it. I know it
I
was the
stand
best.
corrected.
It was so. If you look at the box office for last year, um, Multiverse of Madness, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Thor: Love and Thunder. Black Panther did not make a billion. It was at 859 million. Thor: Love and Thunder at 760 million worldwide. Now, granted, both of them took about 200 million to make. So, but yes, I bring all that up to say you had Multiverse of Madness, and it was not a multiverse of madness. It was a couple of dimensions, a couple of
Yeah.
new characters, a couple of new faces.
Yeah.
This movie really hit it out of the park and was a multiverse of madness. Um, the family dynamic was really well done. Miles and the interaction with his parents. I felt this 15-year-old angst. I
Hmm.
felt that I got a lot going on. You just don't understand. Like I literally in my head, I was playing. Parents just don't understand.
Shamik doing his grown up man voice in the mask to his dad. Well, maybe you should give
You
him some
should,
slack. I was like,
maybe
wow, that
maybe
is
you should get
awesome.
off his ass. I
Yes,
was
that was great. And he said, what did you say? No.
no, no, no.
Yeah, but that
As no
was
one who
great.
has skin in the game.
Yeah. Yeah. Such a oh man. I want to go see that movie again right now. Um,
It
yeah,
was
everybody was just on it. And I love the fact, and more movies are doing this. Um, when he and the mom were speaking Spanish and they don't translate it,
no.
you understand like, oh, she's getting his ass about something.
Hmm.
The people who know it, they know, and if you don't understand the language, you can understand just by context of what's happening. I think that's awesome.
Rachel D. So the Rachel Dratt scene I thought was really good, and
Hmm.
the thing that I loved about this movie is if you've
With
seen the
that
trailer.
cartoon character that looked just like Rachel Tratch,
Good
I was like,
lord!
huh? Can you sue? I guess not because you decided to do the movie, but
But I honestly was like,
that's you.
I mean,
That is Rachel Dratch.
that is no like I two things about that. That is Rachel Dratch. Yes, like there's no like if there's anybody else in the movie, you were like, that's you.
Hmm.
Two, we saw the movie, we saw the trailer, we seen this scene in the trailer,
Oh
and
yeah, but it's cut different.
it's cut different, and it was still had hits in it. And I
Hmm.
think that's the beauty of a good trailer and the beauty of a movie that you can see certain parts in a trailer and that scene can still convey something that you missed in the trailer that the movie does. And I thought that whole interaction was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I love the meta of Genki and Miles being different than what we see in the comics versus what we see Peter Parker. And I'm sorry,
I'm not the man in the chair.
because if you remember in Spider-Man, Miles Morales, the PS5, Genki is the man in the chair. He's helping him. He's, he says first it's walkie talkies, and it was almost like a nod to what we saw in the video game and in the comics.
Speaking of the video game, you see them playing the video game in the movie,
Yep.
which is very cool. It's like, man, I just love I want to know like the behind the scenes,
The logistics.
how does that work? How did you get the game in the movie to do whatever? I mean, I'm sure people are After Effects wizards and stuff, but it just looked so cool to see that.
I mean, you got Sony owns Insomniac. Insomniac's working on the game. You have this. It's one of those things where I was just like, we talk about the two movies that came out this year, the two biggest movies that came out this year being Super Mario Brothers being the first one and this one, and then them having other things that go with it, whether it's video games or Super Mario
Merchandise?
World
Okay.
merchandise, but
The theme park.
the theme park that opened up this year, that you're able to reference and throw into the movie little things, the nods to fans, the Easter eggs that I thought was really good, to where this movie, so much more than any other movie, I think, was a love letter to fans of this character.
I'd agree with
and
that. Sure.
It really was. And then we go from Miles and where is it? Oh, here it is. We go from Miles being grounded, and then we see that scene that we saw in the trailer. Gwen shows up,
Mhm.
and their chemistry, Shamik and Haley Steinfeld, I would really love to know if they recorded their lines together.
They did not.
Or was this, they didn't? So this is an Archer situation where everybody just goes in the booth, does their
Well,
lines.
I don't think they got to do a lot of it together, because I saw something
Mhm.
just today. I was watching. It was an interview with Haley, Shamik, Indian Spider-Man, and then
Perverter. Hold on.
that's what I said, Indian Spider-Man.
I want to get better at this.
and
Karen
Rios.
Sony.
Yes, and Rio's mom. And they were just talking about whether or not they got to work with each other and whatnot.
Mhm.
A lot of them were saying they had to do their scenes separately, not together. But
There's my spider mutt. Hey, Ben.
yeah, but yeah, they had great chemistry.
It really reminded me of this cover, and
That's cool.
we never got to see it. So this is after Secret Wars, when the universes collide, and then is this when the universe? I'm trying to remember when this happened. Anyway, Bendis, Sarah Pacelli, Miles and Gwen are hanging out there because they're about the same age. And I really love their chemistry together. The fact that she had pined for him, you saw at the beginning. You saw him struggling with being the only one. I thought that was a very cool little nod where he was like, I'm the only one.
Mhm.
And that's a cool thing. You're unique. But I also think it's one of those things where it's like, it can be very lonely. And it reminded me of like a celebrity. No one really knows who you are. They know what you can do for them,
Mhm.
in a sense of like a Miles Morales being Spider-Man. They don't really know who you are because you can't tell them who you are. There's a separation because of what you do. You can never understand what that is like. And that really hit home. And then when Gwen shows up, there's that kindred spirit. It's that teenage love angst that you get, that awkwardness that they are around each other. because they have these two separate lives. And then again, they never thought they would see each other again. They thought that last time that they saw each other was it. And here you see each other, you see your person. And then that whole moment underneath the awning, it's not an awning, but whatever that architectural wonder that they were under. And I thought that was just so well done. You saw that there's a final trailer where you see them moving throughout the city together. This whole thing where they're circling each other and then they're sitting down, and Gwen says every Gwen falls in love with Spider-Man. And you see the hand creep, and it was a beautiful scene, and I really enjoyed it. And then
And to add on to that too, just to show how much he had grown as a more mature person, she says that he moves the hand, and then she says, and it always ends in tragedy or something like that. And then he moves the hand away, and you're like, okay, but then he's so smooth. He's like, you know what? Maybe we can kind of write a different ending, or it doesn't have to end that way. He's like, he's just thinking. He's growing. Go ahead.
It's one of those things where I thought it was very well done. And again, that comes from people who are making this is art. It's commercial art, but it's still art. Making a film and understanding the characters and wanting to do the characters justice. And I thought that was really well done. And did you pick up on what was going on? Why, like, there was this, not necessarily tension, but there was this thing between them. Like, she wanted to tell him more.
Oh yeah.
But it was there, and you couldn't really, and they did a real good job of like, will they, won't they? And again, this movie reminded me of so much of the interplay between characters a la Han Solo and Princess Leia and Empire. The whole Hoth scene.
You just went mute for a second.
Sorry, the computer got updated, so some of the features are a little off. But that whole little dance that Han Solo and Princess Leia were doing in Empire, and it reminded me of that. In this, there's something there preventing them from getting together, and then we get to Spot's hideout, and Miles is watching this, being an observer, hearing people talk about him, and not understanding, and realizing that there's something else there, and seeing he could have left it, he could have stayed, and he followed her, and you can tell that there's something there when they get to
Manhattan. Mumbai Hatton.
Yeah.
I don't know how you pronounce that. Yeah.
It was amazing. They did a really good job of combining Mumbai and Manhattan. And I loved, Empire talked about the fact of the different art styles. So I would love to know how they based Mumbattan, because if you look at it, Chris Lord and Miller talked about the fact of, I'm reading from Empire magazine, written by Ben Travis. They say, as the title Across the Spider-Verse would suggest, expect an epic trek through various spider realities. The two that you saw in the teaser trailer were what's called Earth 50101, which we're calling Mumbattan. That's based on an Indian comic book look in Nueve, New York, from Spider-Man 2099. That's based on Sid Mead's style illustrations of what the future might look like. And I would love to know what they based, because Sid Mead, if you don't know, has done he was one of the designers behind like what Blade Runner looks like. They use a lot of his artwork for futuristic Dune. Go back and look at some of the stuff. Sid Mead is on the scale of H.R. Geiger when it comes to a very distinct look. When you think of xenomorphs, you think H.R. Geiger. When you think Blade Runner, future tech, Sid Mead and some of his books are amazing. Blade Runner, especially Blade Runner 2049, amazing work. So I would love to know what they did, what images they used to base Mumbattan on. Karen Sony was amazing.
Yeah. He's
Uh,
great. My life is great. I got a girlfriend. We kicking it. My hair is beautiful.
he said, "What is that? What do you put in? No products?" He's like, "No, man, just prayer and good genetics." I was
Yeah.
like, as a man who was hair challenged, even I had to get. I was like, you know what,
Yeah,
bro?
the dude was great.
Do you,
Yeah.
bro? Um, the Canon event. When did you realize that was going to be a big deal? Was this the moment when you realized the Canon event was going to be a big deal, or did it take a little bit for you?
Um, I don't know as I'm thinking about it now. I mean, I realized when they were talking about canon events, because when did they first bring up canon events? Was it here or was it earlier?
It was there.
It was
That was the
there.
first time because you heard Spider Woman, Issa Rae's character say it's a um, possible canon event, and that's when Gwen was like, "I got this," and she was trying to tell Miles to stay.
Yeah.
And I figured out he was about to, but I didn't know in what way. Like I knew he was about to do something that was about to be can because I knew because because here's when I started to see the threads that they were dropping because I didn't catch it at first with Gwen's dad. I caught that a little bit when you saw the captain and you saw that vision and you saw the whole um, building coming down. You saw the little kid running out, and you saw the captain. And I was like, no. And then I started thinking back, and like when you watch a movie and you start thinking back to the trailer, and you
Mhm.
start, okay, I've seen this image, I've seen that image, I've seen this image, and you're trying to put two and two together. I knew that was a pivotal moment. I just didn't understand what pivotal moment it was because I was so caught off guard by how quick the spider people moved after Spot blew up Alchemex. When
Mhm.
Spot blew up Alchemex, I could not. It was just all bets were off,
Right. Because
and
everything.
everything
The
was
one
on.
thing I'll say, a tiny hiccup I had about this movie, now that we're talking about it, is, and maybe that's on purpose, but there is so much shit going
Yes,
on the screen all the time. It is hard to pay attention to what everything's going on because you want to sit there like, what's going on?
it's
So
sensory
that's a
overload, isn't it?
yeah, and,
It's
and maybe
literally
that's on purpose,
it's
but
sensory overload.
but it is kind of hard to figure out exactly where you're supposed to concentrate. That's a small tiny
Yeah.
nitpick.
Here's my question though: what
Mhm.
kind of theater did you see then?
It was a Regal. It wasn't like a fancy anything.
The reason why I asked that is because I wonder, because I didn't hear a lot of people, because James Cameron was real big on see my shit in 4K.
Yeah.
James Cameron was like, "Hey man, you need to see. Hey, pay $30 a ticket to go see my stuff." Nolan is very big on that. Tom Cruise is big on that. Remember, you saw Top Gun with the seats moving
Oh
in
yeah.
a 4K theater.
Oh yeah.
So I wonder, was this one of those movies that maybe they should have gotten out in front of and been like, "Hey, see this in 4K. See this on the biggest screen you can see this on because it's a lot."
Well, the only big thing I've kind of seen in terms of like technicality of the movie is some people were having issues with audio, which I
Mhm.
kind of did too. There were a couple scenes where we didn't talk about this. The soundtrack to this movie is freaking incredible. Every song is like banger, banger,
Son,
banger. Have you already bought the soundtrack?
uh, I don't. I got the first one.
Okay, yeah, because every song in here was a banger.
Son, I
Um,
got the first one. I have this on. So I have the record store day. I haven't opened it ever since I got the computer back.
yeah,
So this is the record store day. I haven't opened this because I have the CD.
hmm
I have a digital copy of it, and I have the vinyl.
yeah.
And I'm like, you're right. That soundtrack, I will admit, there were a few times, and I hate to be that person. I pulled out my phone and was shazamming songs in this
Yeah, I
movie
was like,
theater.
this is hot. This is great.
This
This is a banger. Um, but like having said that, sometimes like the audio mix, the music was a little bit louder than the words. So it's kind of hard for me to hear. There are a
really
couple for me in my theater,
okay. See,
and
I
I've
didn't
seen
have
that.
that problem.
I've seen
Yeah,
that online a few other places too. But there are a few lines I'm like, I don't know exactly what they said, but you know, it's
I,
whatever.
yeah, I didn't have that problem. But yeah, the canon event was where I got an inkling. Okay, that's because I remember in the trailer, Miguel was so adamant he cannot be here.
Hmm.
you were going to mess everything up. And I was trying to figure out what they were mentioning. And I did not see that coming. Like, I didn't see any of that coming to where I was like, oh, because I was so caught off guard by the four spider people. Just I honestly was like, they not gonna save everybody. There's no
Hmm.
way you can save everybody. The way that building came down and how densely packed Mumbai and Manhattan is, and if you combine those two cities together, like,
Hmm.
come on. So a testament to them. And then you see Karen Sony's character, Paviter, doing the bus thing.
Yeah.
Once again, buses and spider people
Yeah.
holding on. He's got his girlfriend here. He sees her dad. And I was like, oh, they about to do it. And Miles saves him. And they were like, canon event. I was like, huh. I was like, okay, cool. It never dawned on me the meta that they were going for until we got to the lobby. Until we got to the lobby, and you brought it up, you hit on it, Donald Glover. And I was like, because here's the thing, I saw that frame before I saw the movie.
Really?
So I was on Twitter Friday, and
Fucking
I
Twitter.
saw that frame, and I got off social media. I was like, nope, you're not gonna get me again,
Yeah.
because that's how they got me for Fast 10.
Hmm.
So I was like, nope, I'm off. And so I saw that frame. So it was, but what got me was when Spot went to Venom's universe,
Yes. To
and
talk to the lady. I'm like,
and
wow.
then
Yeah.
remember he went to the Lego universe, and then Lego
Hmm.
Spider-Man hit up Miguel, and I was like, oh, and then it dawned on me. I was like, across the Spider-Verse means you can go everywhere, and it was like just that little nod.
Hmm.
Don't get me started on the Pipsqueak and Doctor Strange. Like, I was like, oh, like the lobby is where it hit me,
Hmm.
and that's when I was like, anybody could. Like, I was. So here's the thing. So this is Marvel Legends 2-pack. I bought this for Spinneret. That's Mary Jane Gets Spider from Renew Your Vows. It's a sequel. So then you had Peter B. Parker, Mayday Parker. I don't know if you can see that. Sorry.
Hmm.
Um, I bought it. I bought it for that. To get Mary Jane. So that's when I was like, oh, y'all. That's when I was like, because it was like, you get a little Spider Person here, Spider Person here. That's when the lobby hit. I was like, oh, that's
Hmm.
when I was like, y'all just went for it.
Yeah. They
So,
can go
matter of
anywhere,
fact,
anytime.
you go ahead and talk because I'm open this. I haven't opened this yet.
Oh,
I
is that one you're going to open?
I'm going to put this right now.
Okay.
Supposedly, for a lot of people, this is the best Marvel Legends Spider-Man because that's toe articulation. A lot of people bought it for this action figure right here. I
Hmm.
bought this 2-pack for this action figure right here.
Okay. Yeah. I
Um,
mean, for me, I just like the idea of having Donald Glover because, like, just the meta-ness of people wanting Donald Glover to be a Spider-Man, and then people wanting Donald Glover to be, oh, he's in the movie, and
because remember, he was the voice of Spider-Man in the cartoon that they killed. Do you remember that?
uh-uh.
Yeah, Donald Glover. Hold on, pulling up right now. Donald Glover was supposed to voice Miles Morales um, in a. Hold on, it was killed. Um, in an Ultimate Miles Morales cartoon,
Hmm. Okay.
um, and it was. There's this whole story, internet meme of how basically I think it was they, for somehow, some way, it ties to Taylor Swift, and I'm
Hmm.
trying to get this article. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No. It was just cool to see all that happen, and the thing that really got me was the movie does a good job of keeping you engrossed, and because these art styles are so distinctive, like when that big thing happens at the end where he's in a different universe, like if you're paying attention, you knew as soon as he goes back, well, as soon as Oscar Isaac says, you weren't supposed to be Spider-Man. You know, your Spider-Man died. This bug came from Dimension 42,
Yep.
and it sends you back to your home dimension based on how you got bit or whatever.
Because it
Like,
remembers the
oh,
DNA.
yeah, like,
The-
oh, the 42. Oh, he's not going back to his own dimension, and it's building up. And I think the movie does a good job. If you're not paying attention, you'll finally get it. But as soon as he gets to this new dimension, realize, oh, this doesn't look like his dimension he was at anyway in terms of the animation style. So that's like another key to let you know that it's a different place. I just think they do such a good job with that overall of everything. And he finally tells one person, not his Rio, but a Rio, that he's Spider-Man or whatever.
Mhm.
And she's like, what's a Spider-Man?
And
It's
you're like,
so good.
to me, so before you even get to that part, for me, it was Hobby. I love one Daniel
Kaluuya, yeah.
Kaluuya. His Hobby was amazing, and
Shamik said, so wait, you spend time in his dimension? You got a toothbrush?
He's like,
that was great.
He's like, you left the sweater over there? She's like, I'm sure it's somebody else's sweater. He's like, are those my kicks? So
Yeah.
that's why I was like, I didn't see what was going on. Okay, so I got it open. So let's see. Let's make sure. Because now they don't have windows in them anymore, but they're going back to boxes where you can see the actual action figure in it. But that's why I said I wasn't following, because there was so much things going on screen. Hobby, when he showed up, when they got into the lobby, and then Shamik was like, Miles was like, how are you even cooler without the mask? And he's like, I was always cool.
Yeah.
I was like, so Hobby's Spider-Man was just like, and I know a lot of people were kind of like, why did Nicolas Cage come back? And I get it now. Like, I get why the people were where they were. Because when Peter shows up, he shows up at the right time. And the way they tell the story and how they tell it, you get why he didn't show up earlier. You understand, but then you realize why he missed him so much. That was his mentor.
Mhm.
And when he showed up the way he did, let's see if the paint apps are good on this one. I've been waiting to open. Oh, that's going on the shelf, buddy. That's going on the shelf. You guys can't see that, but man, this is an amazing action figure. I need to start reviewing action figures. I don't know nothing about them. Like, people are like, that's a butterfly joint. I don't know. I bought this for her, for Mary Jane, Spinneret. That's amazing. Oh, love it. I may go back and renew your vows. So when he shows up, and he shows up with Mayday, again, I was in awe. I loved it. And I thought that the contrast between Miguel and Peter was so well done. And how Hobby was like, I quit. It was like, and the little things where Hobby was like,
yeah, use your palm. Yeah.
It was and that's why I said there's so much going on in this film, and I'm reticent to say a 6 out of 5. But to me, this is a 6 out of 5. They up the ante in I don't want to say this because we've used this derogatorily, in a derogatory way. They fast and furious this shit, man. It's like,
nice.
When the horse had a mask on.
Yes.
When he was like, when the Tyrannosaurus Rex was running next to Miles, man, the lobby, everything in the lobby was just so well done. And she was like,
the Ben Reilly clone, that was great.
When she was like, you ain't seen nothing yet. That's just the lobby. And then you encompass everything, and you see all the spider people. Like, I was just I was like, I was just in awe.
Yeah.
I really, Jake Johnson is Peter B. Parker for me. And I was so impressed, and I got that feeling back in the first movie when he's like, are you liquid? He's like, you're going to be such a bad teacher. And the whole joke between, he's like, I'm not liking that I'm a bad mentor with the Issa Rae, and then Miguel is like, you're both equally bad. Does that
Yeah.
make it better? I really, and he's like, hey man, I taught him that. Like Jake Johnson was just for the little bit of time he was on screen.
Yep.
He was amazing, but that betrayal,
You knew.
I didn't see that coming, and we saw that a little bit in the trailer, and I still didn't see it coming. You knew. Oh, again, I hate to say it. Into the Spider-Verse, Star Wars. Across the Spider-Verse, Empire Strikes Back.
Sure.
Vader is Luke's father.
Yeah.
You knew. And Gwen was like, I didn't know how to tell you.
Yeah.
Oh, you know that meme where everybody, oh, that's me. That was me in the theater. I was, Go ahead. I was just trying to take out.
No, I mean, I feel like we've discussed the movie. This is probably this is the longest review we've ever done.
I don't know.
We've never gone more than an hour on a review before.
I don't know. We've trashed a lot of stuff. Oh man, look at that Spider-Man. Oh, and the toes, son. Do you see that? Do y'all see that? So that means you can pose him. Oh, they make a Miles this. Oh, where's Miles at? Oh, I ain't open this tonight. Yeah, but no, the betrayal.
Yeah.
That betrayal was just that hurt me. Like just when he was like, you should have never been here. Your Spider-Man would still be alive if it wasn't for you. Like that was some hurtful shit, man. And
yeah, so essentially he killed two Spider-Mans. The one in his dimension and the one that never got made, I guess, in Dimension 42.
Well, see, here's the thing. He didn't kill two. He just got bit. Spider-Man, Chris Pine Spider-Man died in his dimension. But we know.
But the other Spider-Man never became Spider-Man.
But he didn't die. He just became. So here's the thing. This is why I said this movie was a love letter to comics, because Into the Spider-Verse, this one is tackling, in a sense, Spider-Man 2. So in the first Spider-Man crossover, Miles and Peter team up, yada, yada, yada. And Spider-Man 2, because remember, Miles Morales in the comics is from a different dimension than Peter Parker. Those dimensions smush, and the question was always, if Miles became Spider-Man in his dimension, the Ultimate Universe, who was Miles in 616? Who was the Miles Morales in this universe that came from Peter Parker? And they touched on it in this, because in this comic, he's a supervillain. And so when you get to Dimension 42 and you're like, you see Mahershala, and the way they animated Uncle Aaron, that man, I'm a bald black man, and I have never looked that good ever in my life. The way that they animated that man, the way he walked on screen when he was like, come on, I'll make sure he gets it. He knew right away that was not.
Yeah.
He knew it wasn't him. That boy's mama didn't know it wasn't him. He knew. And that's when I was like you said, he's not in his dimension. So you're trying to figure out who these people are and how effed up their universe is. And then you see when
you see they come out into the high rise or whatever on the roof, and you see all the fires, like, oh, there's no superhero to stop this, to be
there's
whatever.
No Spider-Man. There's nobody. You left your universe like I was. And then the thing is, and then when he punched the bag, and he was like, a good guy. I'm not the Prowler.
Yeah.
And then you see somebody up there, and because you know that's who hit him, and you're like, you knew that was the Miles, that universe's Miles. You realize, like I said, I was just in awe of this entire movie. and just the way they pulled it off. Like when you sit back and you watch it, you see everything, you see the machinations, and you see the storytelling, and you see it all come together. But you don't realize it as you're watching it. It's just a freight train. After a certain point, it just keeps going, and it
Mhm.
changes itself like a chameleon to throw you off so that you never catch on to what they're doing. At least I did. And I think I'm moderately intelligent. A lot of this stuff I didn't see coming. I didn't see the betrayal coming. I did like I when they kept saying he didn't plan it, I was like, "Oh, you just getting your ass kicked." Then I was like, "Wait a minute." And then they showed a frame, him looking down at the Citadel, and I was like, "Oh, you have planned this."
Mhm.
And that's when I was like, "How does he get out of this?" And that's when I remember the trailer, and I was like, when he said, "Nah, I'ma do me."
Yeah.
He when you see all the spider people on that train, I was impressed. And you just realize that hurt he felt because it was all the people who were there for him in the beginning. Like when you saw that when Penny showed up,
Mhm.
that was a. I'm not saying that wasn't a dagger when Peter showed up, but when Penny showed up and you saw her and you were like, E2 Brutus? Oh, it really was an amazing movie. Um, so we saw he's in a different dimension. Gwen realizes it's her fault. Gwen goes back to her dimension after Miguel kicks her out.
Mhm.
Did you see Hobby leaving that care package for her? Did you realize
No.
it?
Uh-uh.
Did you realize he was setting this shit up all along when he was stealing stuff? Did you like remember when he was taking stuff? He was just like,
Yeah.
I would like to see in the next one and Beyond the Spider Verse how Hobby knew this was all coming.
Hopefully there's a bunch of questions we have that'll hopefully will get answered. I mean, I just like the idea of it starts with her saying, she had a band and now she's getting a new band, getting the
Hmm.
band back together. It's like, yeah, this
Yeah.
is this is great.
I love, and here's the thing: I love the fact of the supervillains. Spot may be the ultimate supervillain, but it reminds me of the meme. Are we the bad guys?
Hmm.
Like it literally was that meme. No, we're the good guys. Like,
Well, well there's one thing that I've seen I think is a valid criticism. Excuse me. Which I mean, you kind of have to just suspend your disbelief because it's kind of weird to think that every Spider-Man would be on board with stopping one Spider-Man.
I see. To me, I don't suspend belief because if you go back and watch Into the Spider Verse, it's a nod to that moment where Aaron dies, Uncle Aaron dies, and all of them look at him and he realizes they've all felt this loss before. And he
Hmm.
says, "This is what makes us Spider-Man."
Hmm.
And so it's a very nice nod back to the original film of saying there's a we got into this to help people, but they believe that they're doing the greater good. And here's another thing, we talk about this a lot of times. These huge organizations that are so big that it's so hard to get them to move and change because on the outside you're like, that's a bad thing that you guys did. Let's take an organization that we have constantly monitoring in our profession, police officers. One individual police officer may or may not be a good person. They may be in this for the right reasons. And then something happens, but the institution is so big that you have to go along, even though your job is for the greater good. But but what you're doing is wrong. But you're doing it for the right reasons. And I think that this movie did a very good job of showing that even in the best of even in even the best people in some of the worst situations can do something because essentially they're going to kill his dad by not stopping and not helping him. They're
Hmm.
essentially not only are they stopping him, they're going to kill his dad.
Hmm.
And that's the thing that I was like, oh man, like that's a hard pill to swallow, man. I I was in awe that like that that revelation, because like I said, I just got done watching Into the Spider-Verse going into this. So that whole moment where he's mourning Aaron and his dad shows up and he can't really talk to his dad about it. And remember, they have that moment where him and his dad have that talk in the house, and they go back and forth, and he just hugs his dad.
Mhm.
And I just remember that, and it's like it harkens back to that moment in the first film where Gwen tells his parents, "You have no idea how much he loves you." And I saw it. This boy, I said, man, he's 15. He's still a boy. This boy was willing to fight an entire universe of spider people to save his dad.
Mhm.
Not just because he's Spider-Man. You save, and that's one of the things that I remember from the MCU. Don't you save one. Remember when Hawkeye told Quicksilver that? Don't worry about all the, you save one and you keep moving. And I thought that was one of the best moments in the movie where you realize y'all are wrong. And it reminded me of Captain America. Nope. Here we go. When Captain America said, when everybody else is wrong, when everybody else is telling you to move, no,
Mhm.
stand firm. And I was just like, man. So I'm down. I love this movie. 6 out of 5.
All right, we've been going long enough. Leroy broke the scale. That's how awesome this movie is. Fantastic movie. Let us know if you're going to go see it. Let us know what you think is going to be in the next one beyond the Spider.
Yeah, who do you think's going to be in it? I'm hoping we get a Spinneret.
Maybe.
Show me Mary Jane with powers or Mayday with powers. Oh,
Yeah.
when he said, "Don't tell your mom," and she said,
Mm-hmm. It's fantastic.
oh,
All right, folks, that'll do it for us. We'll be back with more stuff, more reviews. We got summer of movies coming out, man. You got
Summer Games Fest,
Transformers, you got a Flash, you got all kinds of stuff.
Indiana Jones. You
Yeah.
also got Oppenheimer, Dead Reckoning, Mission Impossible. You've got at the end of the year, you've got Marvels. So yeah, that's Michael. I'm Dark Garfield. Um, Tell us. We want to hear from you. Put your comments. Add your comments in the comment sections under this video. Like, comment, and subscribe. Uh, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm going after this. I'm going to go watch Into the Spider-Verse again.
Cool. On that, we out, folks. Peace.
Deuce.